Thank you all for coming today for another Club 101 video. Today we have an Ask Us Anything student panel. The past few weeks, we asked some freshmen to submit some questions they had about the club process, and we've kind of accumulated some of the most popular ones. And we're going to have our wonderful student panel here answer some of your guys' questions. So just to get started, let's introduce the panel. To start, I am the moderator. My name is Jack Plowman. I am a senior. I'm focusing in accounting, and a fun fact about me is I've been to 41 of the 50 United States. So I'll pass it on to Z now.
Hi everyone, my name is Z Hassan. I'm an incoming junior. I am the VP of Clubs for BBA Council, and a fun fact about me is that I was almost attacked by a seal while kayaking in the Pacific Ocean.
Hi everyone, my name is Brooklyn Bates. I'm a sophomore. I'm involved in a couple of activities, and a fun fact about me is that I was in the world's largest game of laser tag with 978 people.
Awesome. Hey everyone, I'm Annie Wang, and I'm a junior BBA. And a fun fact is that I write and perform my own original motivational raps.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen King. I'm a rising junior this year, and I'm the director of recruitment for the DEI task force, committee. And a fun fact about me is that I love roller coasters, so I'll be in Cedar Point riding every single roller coaster, but I hate Ferris wheels, mainly because they go like really slow, and it's a contradiction, but that's just something fun about me.
Awesome. These women here have a great, accumulation of different types of clubs they've been in or other experiences. And they're here to help us with any types of insights on their own processes through Ross and some of the questions that come up. So to get started, maybe some of the biggest questions that we got were, how do I learn about certain types of clubs? Some of them that we were like, what's the difference between different consulting clubs? Or how does the rush process for a business fraternity work? So all of these can kind of be answered in the different resources that we want to utilize to learn about clubs. First would be watching all these Club 101 videos that we're putting on Uniflow. Earlier in the week, we had one from CDO about the different resources that are here at Ross. And then me and Z were also in one earlier this week about the club overview in general, how many open and closed clubs there are, just things like that, so you understand the environment. Next, on Uniflow as well, each club by itself will have its own club page. Make sure you go in there and look at the different information that people have for you. They should have intro videos up by Friday at the least. They could be up now already, but make sure you look in there, click into clubs you're interested in, and find what you think looks interesting. And then finally, if you really want that in person to get to meet somebody, come to meet the clubs. That's going to be Thursday, September 9th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. All the clubs are going to be together in Ross in the Winter Garden on the first floor and a little bit in the lower floors, where you can come in and see members and learn from their experiences to see if that club could be for you. So the first question that I have for our panel here, kind of talking about club recruitment, is what is a good amount of clubs to join without becoming overwhelmed? I think some people come into Ross and they might feel that how many clubs is too much? How many clubs is too little? And I really think the answer is it depends. So what I'd like to hear kind of from each panel member here is, what was your process when you were joining clubs in Ross, and how you navigated how many you tried to apply for or stuck with? So I guess we'll just start with Z.
Yeah, so like many of you, I didn't really have a good understanding of what clubs were being offered to me. So you can imagine, as an incoming freshman, there are so many clubs that you could pick from and so many that interest you, but you also need that good balance that Jack was talking about. So I know I wanted to focus my main or allocate most of my time in one club, and then have different other clubs that would take up some of my time but wouldn't be as much as BBA Council, which I'm most invested in. So the other clubs that I'm best in currently is the Muslim Student Association, and that's an open club where not only do I get a good community out of it, but also they only send out some like open events, and nothing is really required of me, and I'm just a general member. And then the other club I am mostly a part of, just like BBA Council, is PANI, which is a nonprofit Pakistani organization that focuses on sanitation issues. And that's where I'm on that project where we're actually trying to build out an elementary school for a rural village in Pakistan. And then I do have some other clubs, like I mentioned, like the Muslim Student Association, whereas I don't invest too much of my time in, but I'm on that listserv where I am receiving these opportunities that really help me find what I'm interested in. But I think it's really important for you to find either one or two clubs that you know you want to invest most of your time in, and then understand and see how there are other clubs that are available to you that don't really ask much of you. So that's really a good balance. So I would say around like 4 clubs, maybe 2 of them being really asking a lot of, not too much of you, hopefully, but having most of your time dedicated to them, and then maybe 2 other or 3 other clubs that focus on just handing out information or having open events that seem like a right fit for you.
In my personal experience, when I was a freshman, I think I overcommitted myself a bit and I joined, I want to say 12 different clubs. And after freshman year, I realized that simply was not the move. And I realized what is really important is to have quality over quantity. And I know for me, I wanted to be a part of clubs that reflect the values that I hold. And I wanted to be able to know that I was intentional in the clubs that I was choosing and that I would be able to give my full self and be present to every meeting. Like I remember freshman year, sometimes I'd be in 2 Zooms at once, which I don't recommend. So I definitely think you should think of what clubs align with your values and also what clubs align with the time schedule you have in your calendar to make sure that you don't overstretch yourself and to make sure that you have plenty of time to dedicate just to yourself and making sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you are your number one priority.
That was really well said, Brooklyn. And similar to Brooklyn, I actually am also an overachiever. So I remember coming into my freshman year, I knew that I wanted to basically apply to everything, because if my calendar wasn't full, then it meant that I wasn't being productive. And that probably comes because my background is a first generation college student. And for those of you that are in similar situations, it's really important to, put yourself out there and explore what you want to do, but keep focused and make sure that you will pick 1 or 2 clubs that you are actually really passionate about. And for me, that would definitely be the BBA DI committee and 180 Degrees Consulting, and stick to those throughout the rest of your years. But your freshman year, you can, join clubs here and there, see if you like it. And if not, it's going to be on your resume. And if you join more and more clubs later on or get more work experiences, you can recycle that. So that's just something to really keep in mind. Choose 1 to 2 clubs that you're really focused on.
I agree with what everyone said here today. And just to add in a little bit of my experience, as a freshman, I really didn't know what I wanted to do in business. I was very confused and I didn't know what a lot of the different areas even meant. So I joined this one club called Michigan Business Group. And that club really helped me to learn about the different areas of business, which I encourage people to do if you're not 100% sure, like what is consulting, what is finance, what is marketing. It's really helpful to have some of these upperclassmen tell you like what the clubs you are recruiting for actually do. Because like a lot of them said before me, like you don't want to like join something and not have it align with your values or have it align with what you're even interested in. So for me, that first year, it was really all about exploring. And that first year, you also want to be acclimated to campus. So joining all these clubs can keep you a little bit confined to Ross if you just join Ross Club. So I would definitely encourage you to like go outside of Ross, join clubs from the greater university, because that can really help you in the long run. And then later on, you have more opportunities each semester to join a club. So it's not all riding on this one fall semester. So you have so many opportunities to like become involved. And with that, like I also had like a few jobs my freshman and even right now as a junior. So I have 2 jobs and I count those as clubs. So it's not like I'm doing like 4 clubs along with my 2 jobs. Like I count my 2 jobs with my clubs. So just keep that in mind if you are a student who wants to work on campus. Like you don't have to give up some of your club experience for like jobs. And you can also, of course, put your jobs on your resume, and those are really good experiences for companies to see. So I would definitely encourage you just to do what you love and be passionate about it.
Great answers all around. And I think the common consensus is it really depends on where you're at and what you want to do, and really making sure that you balance yourself and provide yourself, like what they said, time with jobs, but also things like making sure you leave yourself time to do homework. I know, I know there's plenty of times freshman year where I was like trying to go through club to then homework to then making sure you also give yourself, personal time to make sure you can recharge yourself and hang out with friends and just balance that all. So when you're going through, make sure that you're understanding with these clubs, how much time they're committing, how much time you want to commit for that passion, and having that balance of maybe clubs that are more passionate driven and maybe more clubs that are just I enjoy being in and they provide me a well-deserved break. So kind of talking about club recruitment, one of the biggest questions we got or along the lines was, well, how do I get into a club? What's that process? So starting with the first thing is, well, it depends if it's an open or closed club. Like we mentioned earlier this week, an open club simply means there's no application or interview. There might be some type of due to pay to get into the club, but once that you're done with that, you are fully in the club. Where a closed club will have an application and or an interview. And that's all on a club by club process. So make sure you're communicating with these clubs and asking, what is that process? When is the application deadline? How many, is there one interview after? Is it two? What are those different types of interviews? Just so you get a good understanding of during your recruiting, how that's going to go. Next, one would be, should I just look at one type of club or should I try to diversify from what I'm doing? I think when you hear about our students' experiences, it's really good to, explore your options. Maybe you're wanting to do consulting, so you're looking at consulting clubs, but also look around, we have those types of clubs, but we also have a Ross photography club. And if you look inside and outside of Ross, there are plenty of different opportunities where you can explore maybe your passions that are outside of the business sphere. So just making sure you're open and seeing what's all around campus, inside or outside of Ross. And then a final question maybe would be, am I bound to a club once they accept me? Like I've already gone through this whole process. I've taken it. Now, do I have to stay here for the semester or the year? Am I signing a 4-year agreement? And the answer to that is just simply no. If you figure out that you've maybe dove in a little too far, you've joined 12 clubs, maybe it is time to maybe take a step back and be like, to some of them, sorry, I simply don't have the time to do that. And there's really not going to be there's not going to be any malice behind it. If anything, they'll be like, okay, we understand. You're more than welcome to reapply in the future, either next semester or the following year, if you really do decide you want to come back to them. So with that in mind, this is all very club recruitment process. And a big question we get is, do I need to be in these Ross clubs? Do I need to be in every one if I'm going to have a successful career or when I'm applying for jobs or grad school? And I can answer the question for you now. The answer is no. Okay. So clubs, they are very great. They provide a lot of different tools for our students, and students definitely find success after school while being in them. However, it is not the final that you need to be within a Ross club to find success. There are plenty of different opportunities throughout campus that do similar things to Ross clubs. They help you, develop yourself as a leader and develop yourself as a future employee for some company. And there are also plenty of opportunities where you can find a community that you feel like you belong in, or you feel like you can find good friends in. This can range from something like a spiritual group or a church or a job, or maybe your favorite intramural volleyball team, just different. There's plenty of different opportunities there where you can find leadership positions, but also great friendships. So I just wanted to give all our student panel members an opportunity to maybe talk about some of their experiences outside of this Ross Club sphere and where they found places that they feel like either furthers their education and their experiences or helps them find that community. So maybe we'll go reverse. Maybe we'll start with Karen and work our way back to Z.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely agree with everything that Jack said. You do not need to be in a Ross Club to be successful. There are so many opportunities for everyone. And I guess an opportunity that I had outside of Ross, my freshman year, I actually joined SIBS, which is Support for Incoming Black Students. And they were able to pair me with an upperclassman who was actually also in Ross. But instead of it being so centered around Ross, I was able to learn about their experiences and learn about like how they dealt with like being a minority at a PWI. And so I think that was really helpful for me coming into a school where I didn't know anyone, where I was like the only person from my school that went to Ross. And that experience really helped me with getting into like different programs that my mentor at the time thought that would be helpful for me as a freshman. And he gave me a lot of different advice on pursuing my different interests in Ross. So it was a nice balance between like the business school, but also like the greater community of Michigan. So that's something that really helped me and guided me along my path being a junior today.
Alrighty, so I guess for this question, it's kind of speaks a lot about my background just as a low-income first-gen student because when I came to Michigan initially as a freshman, I knew that I needed to work part-time and I wanted to get that experience, that leadership, but at the same time also be able to earn money towards tuition, housing, food, etc. And so my freshman year, I worked as a Starbucks barista on campus, and I think that definitely gave me a lot of discipline in terms of like, soft skills, but also people management skills, etc., that could be used in interview situations. And my sophomore year, I also applied for a position that was like a student facilitator position as part of Community Matters. And basically, it's like for first year students. And I basically like facilitate communities and allow freshman students to sort of get acclimated to the University of Michigan. And while I was doing that, I was also developing skills as a facilitator, as a public speaker, and at the same time earning money. So that definitely makes you think about what kind of things that you want to be involved in, what kind of things you need to be involved in, and you can still find success regardless of the Ross name or anything if the logo is on the club or whatever.
One thing that I had to come to terms with this semester and my time at Ross has been that the version of success that has always been in my head is not what I truly need in life. So for example, I used to always think that success meant one day getting a really good job and making a lot of money. But lately I've really rethought about this, if you will. And so for me, success is building community, and success is having fun and making new friends and different things. My version of success is trying new experiences, things like that, if you know what I mean. And so I would say that it does not have to be focused in a Ross Club. And in fact, you can be successful in so many different aspects of your life. You can be successful in so many different ways. So what I really suggest you do is to redefine your version of success and make sure that it is a version of success that is going to be fulfilling to you, as opposed to a version of success that you feel pressured to go into.
Yeah, I would actually just be piggybacking off of Brooklyn and just what is your definition of success? Because when you are then in the mindset of comparing or having this monotone definition of success, is that just it being synonymous to having money? Is that being synonymous to having a good job after you graduate? And don't get me wrong, like Annie said, I'm also coming from a low income first generation background, and success to me is part of being having a job after college, because that's essentially why I'm here for. But don't put too much pressure on yourself of just limiting your success in a Ross Club. Before you're in Ross, you're at the University of Michigan, and I want you to know that there's so many clubs at University of Michigan at whole that could make you successful wherever that means, and wherever you could be as being successful in all these clubs. So I want you to really understand that you could join a million different clubs, or you can join no clubs, and because you might have the obligation of having to work because you need to pay for your tuition. I don't want you to compare yourself to others or limit yourself to just Ross clubs. There's so many things out there outside of Ross. And I know as a business student, you're always going to hear the word network, and definitely networking outside of Ross will always help you more. Again, that could be going to different volunteer opportunities. You could create a community at your local church or wherever you want to create your local community at. And it could be anywhere, and you could use the advantages and the resources at the University of Michigan as a whole, and not just Ross and just specifically. So definitely get out there, do whatever makes you happy, do whatever aligns with your values, your morals, and what do you really want to take out of being a business student? Because you're only here for 4 years. So do you just want to be putting all your pressure onto a Ross Club, or do you really want to have a fun time, just like Brooklyn said, and really taking advantage of all the resources? Because you're going to be paying the tuition no matter what. So don't just take advantage of the Ross School of Business. Take advantage of everything that's being offered to you.
Awesome. I think there was two very powerful points in all of what these students have said. One of them is, self-defining what is successful. Making sure you feel successful in yourself, whether that is, making sure you're setting yourself in a position to get a good job, or if it's to make sure you're making meaningful connections throughout the school and throughout your community. And I just want to say that can happen in a multitude of avenues. This can happen in all your Ross clubs too. You can make those connections. You can, develop your passions here, but we just want to let you know that's not the only outlet that you have. It can come from the greater University of Michigan. It can come from the many businesses that come around our around our university, or volunteer opportunities. There's just so many things in the University of Michigan. We just want to make sure that you're aware of all these open opportunities here and don't feel like you have to be stuck, but we also welcome you with open arms if you do want to pursue all these Ross clubs here. So just kind of moving closer to the end of our presentation here, just some other questions, probably club specific, that came up was, when do you join clubs? All clubs will have some sort of recruitment at the beginning of every semester. It is more popular in the fall. It's usually a bigger recruitment than it is in the winter, especially for, closed clubs. They usually just have a winter, recruitment and a fall recruitment and a winter recruitment, where open clubs more likely have like a very open basis where you can join no matter what throughout the school year. So, just being open and being aware of those different situations. Another thing, especially as we're all very busy students and we're trying to put ourselves in many different situations, do I have to make every meeting for a club to be in it? And in the reality, everyone's going to have an opportunity where they're going to have a conflicting date or time or something, and they're going to have to make a decision. And all these clubs know this and understand that. So as long as you're just openly communicating with the club you're in, being like, hey, I actually have an exam this time, I'm not going to be able to make the meeting. More times than not, they're going to be totally fine with that. Just making sure that when you're making these commitments, that you are being an active member, and making sure that, you're contributing your best effort when you can. And then maybe finally, to highlight a Ross resource outside of the clubs, I'd like to highlight the Ross Career Development Office. It is our office that we have here within Ross that helps us with all our career needs, whether it's getting information on certain industries and seeing how you can position yourself to become a good candidate, whether it's working at a resume lab to, work that in, or just to have a space to conduct an interview, all those different. It's a resource that I highly recommend using and utilizing more than probably what it is now. So now maybe the last question I have for these panelists here is maybe stepping outside of the Ross sphere, or just in the Michigan sphere as general. As you were coming in as a first-year student, what is maybe one piece of advice you'd give to somebody to make sure that maybe either they're getting the most out of their experience, or maybe avoiding an error you might have made? So maybe we'll go back to Z first and then finish at Karen. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I think I already kind of touched this on my other answer, but really try not to compare yourself. And I think this could be applied to all avenues of life. But when you're a college student, especially at a young age of 18, and you're very impressionable, when you are comparing yourself to your peers, it's honestly one of the most detrimental things that could happen in your educational career. So definitely take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. The person that you're hearing that's doing 5 clubs while you're only doing 1 club, or even no clubs, is not you. They're not you, and you'll always be yourself. There's nobody like you, and everybody comes from a different background. So I really advocate for you to understand that there's so many pieces that you need to take in consideration before you even jump to comparing yourself to others. Like I said, I am, even like Annie, a low income first generation student, and there's other students that are not like me and that are from high income families that have parents that are CEOs of a company that is very well known. So when I get in the headspace of, oh, they got an internship, why haven't I got an internship? They got into 5 clubs, but you need to understand that they came from a different thread of life and that you're different you. So you really need to not compare yourself and do what you want to do what you think is best, and try to really stay true to yourself without thinking about what others are doing.
My piece of advice would be to try your best to find the balance between holding yourself to high expectations and high standards because you know your potential, but also giving yourself the grace to mess up and know that you're more than your mistakes and you're also more than your accomplishments. I think it's really important to see yourself as the whole person you are rather than one specific club you're in or a class that you may or may not be failing, things like that.
I would really echo what Z said about not comparing yourself to others. I also would like to add, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. So you're constantly improving and growing, because that's so important. And that self-growth is motivated by discipline. So make sure you stay disciplined to do what you need to do and stay on top of your stuff. But another thing that I would also say is, like, embrace your individuality. If you don't get into a club, even though you were 100% yourself, then they don't deserve you, and you don't need them. Like, I've gotten rejected from so many clubs and I'm still doing great things. So that's just something that you need to keep in mind.
I 100% agree with what everyone has said here today, and I would just add on to don't feel pressured to follow the crowd. Just like Zia and Annie said, like, be yourself and don't feel like you have to join 1,000 clubs or have to join this one prestigious club to get the job opportunity that you want, because that's completely untrue. Like, we just talked about that with being successful. And also just make genuine connections. When you're on campus, you want to be able to connect with people and be yourself. Like, if you can't be yourself with those people, then that's honestly not a connection that you need. Like, you want to be able to have genuine connections, and you want those people to be genuine with you. And so I think that's something that I found a lot of value in, not only with my fellow peers, but with also faculty members that I've made connections with, because that's the people that will help you in your career. And so I think that that's something that everyone should strive to do and to make, because those genuine connections will last a very long time.
Awesome. If I had to give one piece of advice, I would say, remaining open and just seeking people who are different than you. If I came in, if I told myself as a freshman who I would be now as a senior, they'd be surprised. I think when you come in here, there are so many people who are different than you, and rather than trying to, like, there's definitely like comfort in staying with people who you find commonalities with. There's definitely also space to find, to make friends and make connections with those on concepts you didn't understand or experiences you've never known. And I am just constantly learning throughout all my process on how to become a better person throughout life. Just, being open and seeing all different types of experiences, whether it's going to a symphony, go to a symphony performance there in Ann Arbor, or go to, I went to a presentation about howler monkeys one day just because I wanted to, just to see something different. And there are just so many different walks of life here on campus that you can learn from and take with you as you move forward. So just as you move forward and come here onto campus as a first year, or even as a sophomore, really explore the area that we have around us in Ross, in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, and just really let yourself grow and become a better person. So yes, I think that is all we have today. I'd like to thank all our panelists for taking the time to come out. If you have any questions, please reach out to BBA Student Council or just any of us. If you can look up, I'm sure if you look up our names on our Gmail, it'll be us. So just be sure to send out an email if you have any questions or want to connect with any of us. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and hope you guys have a good first few weeks and get ready for club recruitment or anything here on the university. So thank you and have a good day.